Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boardmasters with me, Chris Mullins, and today I will be doing my review on Zombie Kidz Evolution. You can check out the playthrough videos that I've done with Alex in the playlist, but let's dive into my thoughts and feelings on this. And as ever, the review will cover the 5 standard categories that I use for all my reviews. So the art style and theme, the component quality, the accessibility, the replayability, and finally the overall gameplay. Now, for me, whilst this isn't the best art style of any game that or I shouldn't say best, this is not my favourite art style. Certainly not when things like Honey Buzz are on the shelf, but it's probably the most important art style, I would say, largely because when you consider the theme, is basically you're playing as kids who are trapped in a school during a zombie apocalypse whilst hordes of zombies are attacking and trying to kill you. That's quite a dark theme, especially for a kids game, and it's certainly not the sort of thing I would want to play with Alex. But the art style does a fantastic job of making it cutesy and child friendly and colourful and fun, to the point where you completely forget that basically brain-eating creatures are trying to devour you. So from that perspective, I would definitely say it's the most important art style of any game that I've played so far, because it absolutely transforms the whole nature of the game, really. And it is cute, it is colourful, I like the characters, I like the zombies. It's good fun. It's a really nice looking game. Onto the component quality, and again that's pretty decent. You got the standees, that are very cute. You got like your lightsaber one, and your sort of water pistol one. They were the ones me and Alex generally went with. You've got the double-sided board, which is good quality, as you can see. I mean, it's not anything particularly fancy, because again, similar to a few of the other games, certainly in the family favourite playlists, they're pretty cheap price points, so you're not going to get stunning miniatures and whatnot. But yeah, you get the stickers, they're fun, and the booklet, which you fill out with your missions and everything. So again, that's pretty decent. And it's a good sort of introduction to legacy games. There's not a huge amount to talk about on the components, because that's pretty much it. You have a few standees, a few tokens for the gates, and the, not cards, they're a bit thicker than cards, I'm not sure what to call them, but token cards for the zombies. But again, cheap price point, so the components are perfect for the game. They don't hinder it in any way, they don't harm it, and they enable a good cheap price point. Which leads me on to accessibility, really. And I'm pretty certain from memory this cost about 15 quid, which is almost certainly the cheapest game in my collection, probably alongside Santorini. So absolutely no hurdle in terms of accessibility, and it was one that was fairly easy to get hold of. There seemed to be a lot of places that were stocking it, so it's not one that you're going to have to hunt down. Or it certainly wasn't 6 months ago, maybe now, but hopefully not. In terms of setup and teardown time, again, because of the lack of components, that's very, very quick and easy. Lay out the board, pick your characters, get the zombies ready. That's basically it. And putting it away takes seconds as well, so that's a big advantage. And probably the most important facet of accessibility is it is quick and easy to learn, and pretty much anyone probably from the age of 5 up will be able to pick this game up fairly quickly. As you go through the campaign, you start bringing in powers. It gets a bit more complicated, so they may struggle as you go in a bit deeper. I can't comment too highly on that, because me and Alex have only opened the first 4 or 5 envelopes out of the 13, and I guess that will be reflected in my final score at the end. But accessibility is a big point scorer for Zombie Kidz, because it's super easy to get hold of, it's super easy to get to the table, and it's super easy to teach and learn, so all good on that one. In terms of replayability, I suppose it depends how you're defining it. If you're saying the replayability of the entire campaign, again, I haven't played the entire campaign, but there's not going to be a huge amount of replayability to start it all over again, because it's going to be exactly the same. I suppose you could maybe make a point of using different characters or different combinations of powers, but that's probably stretching it just to justify it, to be honest. But if you're looking at each individual game, whilst each game isn't going to be different, each time you open an envelope does make a change, especially if you're using the characters that if you have a power comes out, then it's going to be very different to the games prior. So that certainly adds to the replayability throughout the duration of the campaign. Again, if I get the booklet out, by the time you finish it, you need to have had 13 down here, so that's what, 4 or 5 per level, so you're probably looking at 50 games, maybe a bit depending on your win-loss ratio. Would hope to be a bit lower than that, I would think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so it is. There's 55 spaces on there, so it's going to be how quickly you win games, how often you complete missions. So you could probably get it down to, I don't know, 30 might be pushing it, but even so, that's a large number of games. And every 3 or 4 games, something's going to change it up. So there's a lot of replayability within the campaign, just not really any meaningful longevity or replayability after you finish the campaign. But by then you've had more than your money's worth. So I don't really see that as an issue. But yeah, I mean, you could start it again. You just have to ignore the special rules, I guess. But it would then take longer by the time you would have used your stickers, and then you have to, I don't know. It would be a bit awkward and probably not worth the effort. If you wanted to start again, you're probably better off just buying another copy, to be honest. Going into the gameplay. And again, I haven't finished the campaign, so I can't talk about how it plays after you've got most of the envelopes, how complicated and things it is there. But from what we've played, the gameplay is really, really fun. There's a good element of strategy, a good element of depth and tactics to it. You have to really communicate and cooperate, and certainly in the games I've played with Alex, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Whether he's enjoyed it or not is harder to say, because, again, the reason why we've only opened 4 envelopes is because he's not as keen to get it to the table as I am, and you know, I guess maybe he's 7, he wants to electronics instead, or we've had some good weather, so he wants to go out and play it, go to the park and whatnot, which is fair enough, I don't blame him. But I suppose that does harm it in a way that if he's not wanting to play the game, then that renders my enjoyment of it a bit mute, but which is a shame, because as I said, I do really enjoy the gameplay. Because it's quick, it's fast paced. Each time you have the choice to move to an adjacent square and then kill a zombie in that space. And that's basically it. Obviously it gets deeper as you get more powers, so you can choose to move zombie. You have characters where you manipulate the zombie, so you can move one into a room so that there's 2 in a room, and then move into that room yourself so that you can then kill both instead of having them in separate rooms. There are other ones where you can shoot into 2 adjacent rooms, for example, so that there's a lot of asymmetry the further you get into the campaign. And then the zombies get different powers as well, so some zombies, once they get their powers, can't be killed in a certain room, or they can move other zombies around as well. So it gets far more depth, far more tactics. Each decision matters. You really do have to work together. And again, that is all the good stuff that I like. I really do enjoy this game. I just wish I could get it to the table more often. But it's probably limited as well to the fact that due to work and life and everything, Alex and I only get Sundays together, so there's so many games we want to play on a Sunday that it's not always easy to get this one to the top of the list, even if when a board game does get to the table, there's a choice of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games. It's facing an uphill battle to get there. But that's pretty much everything I've got to say on Zombie Kidz Evolution. It's definitely a really fun game. I do highly recommend it for anyone with kids around that 6, 7, 8 bracket, and it's a great introduction to legacy games. And it's a really good game for communication and working together and teamwork. And, just the very simple mechanic that to lock a gate, you have to high five the person who you're there with, which instantly makes you feel like you're working together and adds that fun and camaraderie into it, which is just a nice little touch that didn't need to be there. And I really appreciate that they did include that in there. But that is Zombie Kidz Evolution, and I think my score, I would probably be inclined to give it a higher score than the one I will. But I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, which again is probably a little bit lower than I was expecting, because I am really enjoying the game, but I am just going to knock 0.5 to 1 off the score just because of the fact that Alex doesn't seem as keen on it, even though he's kind of the target audience, which is maybe being a bit harsh on my part, but I feel like I can't give it as high a score as I'd like, given that it's harder to get to the table through lack of enthusiasm on Alex's part, I guess. But still, a very good game. It's still a game that he enjoys when we do play it. It's just, at the moment, there are other games he prefers. And that's basically it for Zombie Kidz Evolution. So, thank you very much for watching. Look after yourself, stay safe, and have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye now.